Hey guys, this is Shane and welcome to my Curator of the Lost channel today. Hey, I'm going to give you some updates on some stuff that's sold, and then I'm going to show you some of the finds that I'm starting to process. There was a 25-cent book sale a few weeks ago, and I'm just now processing, kind of getting the stuff listed and organized and stuff like that. So I got some kind of cool stuff. You never know what you're going to get at a 25-cent sale, but it's always exciting. Everybody gets there and the anticipation, and then it's just a madhouse free-for-all. And I don't know about if you go to a 25-cent sale at any of your libraries. Our library, I would say 99% of the stuff there is donated. So it's not like ex-library books. So it's really good stuff. And you never know what you're going to find or how many people are going to show up. So sometimes it can be so crowded. I tell the story of years ago when my youngest son, he was probably about 10 or so, he went with me to a library book sale, and it was like arm-to-arm combat. And at 10, he was like, never again. I will not go with you anymore to library sales. So people were acting bad, like somebody thought somebody was, I think it was a mistake, but they thought they were getting stuff out of their bag, and they were yelling at each other. It was just a bad scene. Actually, the worst one I've ever seen, but this one was pretty good. So, but before I get into that, two things. First, I want to say thanks. Thanks for the channel support, comments, views, all that kind of stuff. Appreciate it. You guys keep doing it, watching them. I'll keep making them, try to get more consistent. And then I also want to make a comment that there was a video, a couple, 3 videos ago where I had talked about a St. Joseph's Missal, and I referred to that as a Bible. I know, it's not a Bible, it's a missal, it's a study guide, it's got a lot of verse, it was like this 1957 edition, but a viewer had pointed out that it's really not a Bible, and that's, so just to comment on that, yes, I mistakenly referred to it as a Bible. It's not a Bible. The Missal is not a Bible. So before I jump into what's new, I'm going to pop up here some things that have sold. And it's funny because the things I've sold this last week, they've been higher dollar sales. So the first one's a regular. It's this Disney, it was this pop-up book from the old movie from like the 1978, 79, 1980 called The Black Hole. And it was a pop-up book. And that sold for $17.99, $18. Then I had this box of Shakespeare books, and they're actually still on the shelf right here. They just sold today. I had a best offer. I'd actually had those listed on my eBay site for 181 days. And I think that, it was this great set in the original box. And I had them listed for 120 bucks, and which I think was a fair price, like $10 each. It's a 10-volume set. Somebody offered me 60 bucks today, and you know what? They've been sitting there for 6 months. I might could have gone back and said, hey, give me 80. But I was like, I paid 10 bucks for them. So anyway, I took 60 bucks for that. Move them. They've been on my shelf for 6 months. So it's time to get rid of them. And I'm really glad I got that $60 deal. Sometimes you just have to cut bait, right? Then I had this, it was this Gene Wolfe, the Castle of the Otter, which I sold for 50. And, that's a great book. I've told you before, that's the first time I found that book. But Gene Wolfe, he's easy to remember because the Wolf is W-O-L-F-E. And it's the shadow of the torturer, I think Reconciliator. There's like a 3 or 4 book series that sell really good, especially if you can the early book clubs or first editions, they can sell for like 40, 50, 60 bucks each. Well, this Castle of the Otter is about that series. It's a book about the books. So I sold that for 50. Then, okay, I did the video a few weeks ago on the Shadows of Brimstone game stuff, and I said, did I make a mistake, the $200 mistake? Well, I had pulled out, I looked at these things and I pulled out, I'll show you, I've got a few bagged up here. They were like some of these bigger, this is hard to see, but it's one of those bigger figures. I know you can kind of see it there. But there was one that was like the ancient one. It was kind of like, I always butcher the name, like H.P. Lovecraft, the Cthulhu character. So you can pronounce it different, but it was one like that, and it wasn't put together. And that one sold really fast. Sold for 60 bucks, $59.99. So that's what I just put up. So that's the only thing that's sold. I've listed some of the bigger items. I have 4 or 5 of those, and then the sealed boxes. So we'll see how that goes. Then I had the Art of Ray Troll. Remember, this was some time ago. I talked about this book, and it was one that had a gift inscription to Peter Benchley that was done back in it was on the like the 20th anniversary of the Monterey Aquarium, and it was like on October 22nd, and it was a gift inscription with a nice little piece of artwork. I've been thinking about it. I hadn't listed it. I listed it, sold just in like a couple of days for $40. And then a notable Amazon sale. I had the Star Trek Shipyards. It sold for $45. I may have underpriced that one. It was, but it sold really fast, so that's good. Quick flip. So that's like $275 worth of stuff just in, roughly the last week or so. Higher priced, higher average sale price stuff. So that's kind of cool. So that's kind of an update. Sometimes I'll tell you, hey, here's what I buy, and I get so busy just, processing stuff, I don't tell you what's sold, and that's just a snapshot of some stuff that's sold. So that's cool. Okay, so let's jump into some of the new finds that I'll be listing and selling. So the first is, and this is just a few of them, at the 25-cent sale, there's a bunch of hardback Doctor Who, right? This was like, from the reboot, this was, that's actually, is that it? Eccleston? And then there's some, from the David Tennant era, but I don't know. There's probably, I got like 30 of these, 25 or 30 of these. And what's so funny, and my buddy Chris, when he sees this, he'll laugh because he was in the sci-fi at the section at the sale too. I got these Doctor Who's, and there were a bunch of the Doctor Who paperbacks, but there's this guy, and he was clearly getting them all right. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy that Bogarts in and grabs them from him. So I was on my boxes, and I got the hardbacks. This other guy got all the paperbacks. But those sell pretty good. I can lot those up. I think that all of them I've got, they sell individually. They're not anything special, but I think the ones I got them for $25. They in bundles. They tend to sell for about $3 each, maybe $4. I think I can bundle what I've got and sell them for $100. So that's good. On that line, I have had good success. And honestly, I have not read any. Here's James Schmidt. Okay. You can see that. Oh, and this is kind of cool. Look here. You can see this one's probably, I'd say late 50s, early 60s. That artwork versus that artwork. Same book. That's kind of cool. I dig that when it's like that. But anyway, I got a bunch of James Schmidt, and I found that sometimes, these Schmidts, I said Schmidts, like I said, I haven't read any of his stuff, but there's the Tale of Two Clocks, some pretty cool artwork on some of them. There's another version of that, The Witch's Caress. Got some cool artwork. Anyway, I found that a lot of times I can just bundle these up, especially getting them at $1/4 a piece. Sell these like for $25. I'll try it. We'll see. I got to do some research on it. Here's an Ace Double. It's one I didn't have. Has the Nebula alert. I'll keep this one. Has Nebula alert on this side and has the rival Regalians. I didn't have this Ace Double, so this one's staying with me. And then this is this book, Olaf Stapleton, Oddjohn. It struck my eye. If you remember back in Galaxy Sci-Fi magazine, I think it was like, I want to say it was maybe number 8, first 10. They did a cover. Well, the first year of Galaxy, there was one of the covers that had Oddjohn as the main, illustrated story that was in Galaxy, and it was 1950. And I believe, actually, what I always remember about that was that Stapleton, he was born like in the late 1880s, and he passed away like in 1950. So, like his book, Oddjohn, got published in Galaxy magazine, in 1950, which was like the inaugural year in those glory years of the early 50s, really all the 50s on Galaxy, and some of those covers. I've showed some of those covers before in previous videos. I can do it again sometime. There's some amazing covers on it. I run into a lot of them, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago, and I got like 250 of those things, and they're in my collection of the old Galaxy magazines, and they're you know, it's the digest kind, and they're just, the early art is amazing. But anyway, you know, this Odd John, it's kind of a story of like Homo superior beings that have a trouble meshing in with society and try to form their own utopia, and governments don't like that, and there's the conflict, right? But anyway, this cover I thought was cool. I don't know, I think it sells for like $10. So so that was like the sci-fi stuff. Then there were these I always loved this strip, the BC. Remember BC? This was the Johnny Hart. So there's several BCs, and then there's some of the Wizard of Id. And these vintage books, let's see, there's 9 of them here. You can lot these up, and they sell for like $25. I saw these, got them. And then there was a whole stack of Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Peanuts. Okay, same thing. I see these lotted up, and there's what, 4, 8, 12. There's like 20. I see these amazingly lotted up, and what was funny is I saw one of these, this one. That was one when I was like a kid, like when I was like 4 years old. I had this one. I remember that cover. And but you can lot them up, and these sell. And you know, they're not in great. They're different ages. They're, you know, they got some discoloration, but these things will lot up together for like 20 of them will sell probably like 40, maybe $50. So kind of cool. You know, take what the sale gives you, man. So that was kind of neat. Then there was these 2 Radio Shack. You guys remember Radio Shack? Transistor books. There's actually, in this Transistor Projects, there's like 4 of these in the series. These sell $10 to $12 each. I'll probably put these together, ask 20. It's pretty good. Then here's one that I don't, it's Principles of Solid Propellant. And I think I don't know that it was published this way. It doesn't look like it's a facsimile copy, but somebody bound it. I don't have a comp on this, but even from this author, but this material tends to sell pretty good, solid propellant. So I'll probably list it, $20, see what happens. Kind of neat. Then I'm cruising around. What was funny about this is I'd had a conversation with a lady in line waiting for the thing. Got there about maybe 30 minutes before it opened. And she said she really liked genealogy stuff. And I said, oh yeah, I love selling genealogy when I see it. And then I was walking along, I was about to go out, and I saw this book on top. And it said, and I don't have a comps for a lot of these, but it was 101 cemeteries in Marion County, South Carolina. And so you can see it's from a historical society. I don't have a comp on this yet. But this stuff, people when they're doing research, they love getting the hardbacks. Glory days, a lot of this was in the 70s. People would take this off microfiche and transcribe it and then publish it. So I'll just show you these. There was this Adventures of Purse and Person in Virginia. This is a volume 1, and there were only 2 of these. There was like a volume 1 and volume 2. There's like 5 volumes, and actually I think one of them was like volume 5. I've got comps. I see these selling on Amazon for about $45 each. So genealogy, good. And I'll just show you some of the others. I don't have comps for these yet, but there was the majors and their marriages. And this is one, you know, where they've redone it as this, you know, the Scholar Select, where they say that they've identified it as being a historical book of, you know, public domain, you know, value, and, you know, culturally important, I think is the word they use for this kind of brand. But this will be a family and their marriages. Then there was the Cables and their kin. A pretty thick one there. They don't even look like, and you can see, they don't even look like they're used. It looks like they're facsimile, like, you know, they were copied and bound. So that's cool. Then there was, actually, there's another Majors in the Marriages, but it's got a different color. It's probably just another later copy or something. Then Jefferson, Cable, and the University of Virginia. Again, I don't know about these, but for a quarter, and I love this stuff. Allegheny County, South Park. So, kind of cool. It's kind of glare there. Sorry about that. South Park Township, historic Snowden Township. And I like these because, you know, I like this stuff that it sells. Here's Shelbyville, as they say in Tennessee. Tennessee, kind of a, you know, history, some old time history. Here's one, Jones County. I don't know where this is. Covington Wayne in Jones County, Confederate Records. Let's see, I don't know. I think that's Mississippi. Pretty sure this is Mississippi. Anyway, you know, it's got, when people are trying to do genealogy research, it's good. Let's see. Oh, this one, Mobile East. Don't know anything about it. I thought it was pretty cool. I think that's probably Mobile, Alabama. Maybe, not sure. We'll see. Like I said, I'm just showing them. I got to process them. Two more. Colonial soldiers, like on a small book in Virginia, and some immigrants to Virginia. You know, I did some genealogy research of my own back years ago, growing up, and I was able to track my ancestors from Tennessee to Virginia, and I got it back to like 1790, 1780 in Virginia, and then I lost it. I couldn't go any further, couldn't find any further back from that. But anyway, I know at some point, late 1700s, I had family in Virginia. So, toward the end, all right, this one's funny to me. I love these Betty Crocker cookbooks. I love the spiral bound ones, but it's kind of a running joke with me on a 25-cent sale. There's two books that it's not a successful sale if I don't find a Betty Crocker cookbook of some type. This will probably be about 20 bucks. There's different ones of this that are, and this is like the 70s version. There's, it's 1982 actually. There's a version of this that's in the 70s that has the Sears, it has the Sears holiday insert here. It's more like a $30 one. But there's a 25-cent sale. I get, I almost always find a Betty Crocker cookbook that I like. Sometimes the spiral bound ones, or the 5-ring binder ones, which I really like to sell. Or a Kernighan and Ritchie C book, the original programming C language, the originals, and that book, the Kernighan and Ritchie book on that, it sells really good. And there were several 25-cent sales back to back that I went to that I would find a Betty Crocker book and a Kernighan and Ritchie C programming book at every sale. So it's kind of an inside joke for me. Okay, then here's these last items I did not get at the 25-cent sale, but there's in my stack I'm processing. I got 2 GURPS books, paid $1 each for each. Now GURPS is the old, you know, Steve Jackson games, actually, Steve Jackson, and I think it's like general universal role-playing system. I think it's GURPS. There's this Treadroy and Cliffhangers. They're 10, 15 bucks each. I just always think they're cool. I love the artwork on that. It's kind of reminds me of Boris a little bit. But all right, then the last 2, you know, I've showed this stuff before. Whenever I see Warhammer stuff, now for me, Warhammer is a total. It's an eBay thing because it's one of those things that's special gating for it. Even if I'm not cleared, I'm not gated for Warhammer on Amazon. It's the same thing a lot of times for like Marvel stuff, DC Comics. You know, there's a lot of the big movie studio stuff like Universal and things like that they don't give permission unless you have like the receipts. You know, if you bought like 100 of them, whatever. But this Warhammer, when you see Warhammer 40K, I saw this one and I paid $1 for it. Paperback. I've got on eBay at least 2, maybe 3 sold comps, $48, $49. Now, if you've got the hardback version, and I forget what they call it, the black library, the hardback. Anyway, that one can be like $100. So, but the paperback, and this thing looks like it's not even been, look, it's like perfect. Hasn't been read, hasn't no creases, perfect. Solid $50 bill. All right, and the last one, last thing I've got, magazine, Bella Grace. I got sold comps on this exact magazine for like 18 bucks. They typically will bring anywhere from $15 to $30 each. I don't find this magazine often, but when I do, and you know, it's got really pretty photos, and you know, it's really a beautiful magazine, the stuff that they put in it. You know, I think it's all, well-being and, you know, stuff like that, all that good stuff. Life's Beautiful Journey. This one, sold comps, 18 bucks. Bella Grace, if I see this one, I don't even worry about it. I just get it. Especially, even if I like getting magazines for like 10 cents a piece, this is one that I'll pay $1 for, you know, and it's no problem selling. Bella Grace. So that's it. That's the stuff. Stuff that sold, some corrections from previous videos on the whole missile debacle. You calling it a Bible. Results from a 25-cent sale, pretty good. And I just got to get busy now. They're in my processing loop. I'm a few weeks behind. And then, you know, stuff that sold. So anyway, it's all good. You know, the average sales price I've got on those things that sold, and it's some stuff that I've been meaning to list, and it sold pretty quick. You know, it's see cool, buy cool, and then list it so you can sell it, right? The one sure thing is, we all know if you don't list it, it will not sell. So anyway, that's it. All right, I'm gonna stand here, and if you want to say gullible really slow, and you'll see. All right, take care. See ya. Bye.